Tanya had some free time during lunch, so she decided to stop by the house and check on her husband. He had been stuck at home with a bad case of sciatica. But when she quietly opened the door, she heard strange voices coming from the bedroom, and what she heard made her freeze. The truth hit her hard. Hi there. Every family has its own secrets and struggles. We all wish for happiness that lasts forever, but sadly, some people start thinking they deserve something better. Today, I'll tell you one of those stories. Tanya walked out of the locker room smiling and reached out both hands to her husband, Maxim, who was waiting nearby. Above their heads, the clear summer sky stretched like a huge blue tent. The sun was hot, and the air felt perfect. It was the kind of day that made you want to take a deep breath and enjoy life. Shall we go for a swim? Tanya asked with a laugh, seeing how puzzled Maxim looked. Don't tell me you forgot your swimming trunks again, she joked. I won't tell you that, Maxim said, shrugging. Because I didn't leave them at home. I left them in the car. He smiled quickly. You go to the pool and grab a lounge chair. I'll run to the parking lot, grab my stuff, and be right back. Tanya waved her towel and walked off toward the pool, settling comfortably under a big umbrella. She and Maxim had finally managed to take a little vacation, just the two of them. Their daughter was staying with her grandmother, and they promised to pick her up by 6. Life felt perfect, and Tanya believed it was only going to get better. But Maxim wasn't so sure. While wandering around the locker room, watching women with curvy hips and slim waists walk by, he was feeling relaxed until he saw someone familiar. His face changed instantly. He started shifting nervously from foot to foot. Any second now, his wife could walk out, and what would he say then? Hi, baby. That wouldn't work. Marina had already spotted him. Even though Maxim tried to turn away and act invisible, she saw him. And now she was walking straight toward him, staring boldly, like she owned the place. Relax, she said. I come in peace. I don't know what you're planning, Maxim mumbled, forcing a weak smile, his eyes glued to the locker room door, praying Tanya wouldn't walk out. Marina caught his nervous look and smirked. She loved attention. Her long brown hair and confident walk turned heads. Maxim knew this side of her well. I know you're here with your sweet wife, she whispered. She doesn't know a thing, does she? She laughed, then placed her soft hands on Maxim's shoulders and leaned into him. What are you doing? Maxim hissed, barely holding back the urge to push her away. But he knew that would only attract more attention. Better to just stand there like nothing was happening. I'm just taking back what's mine, Marina whispered with a sly smile. She could see how uncomfortable he was, and she enjoyed every second of it. Maxim was scared. He didn't want to lose his family, his peaceful life. You're a real predator, he muttered, feeling the urge to run far away. Not that he totally minded the idea of seeing Marina again in private. But not like this. Not here. Not in public. Not where Tanya could walk in at any second. But Marina didn't care. She loved taking risks, and she loved making men do the same. Maxim was sure he wasn't the only one. She probably had more than 20 or even 30 lovers. That's just who she was. And despite everything, he couldn't resist her. He was drawn to her like a moth to a flame. But not like this. Not so openly. Not now. While Marina seemed to lose interest in Maxim for a moment, he sighed in relief. Too soon. She pulled out an electronic cigarette from her small banana-shaped bag, which was strapped around her waist, and took a puff right under a big "no smoking" sign. But that was just like Marina. Few people dared to tell her what to do. She'd smoke even in the president's office if she wanted to. Maxim took a deep breath and shook his head. Anyway, sweetheart, I'll be waiting for you in the parking lot in 15 minutes. We need to talk, Marina said casually, already looking in another direction. But Maxim knew she was talking to him.
Come.
You won't regret it. Just don't be late. I don't like waiting. But I'm with my wife, Maxim mumbled nervously, especially when he saw a woman in a swimsuit that looked just like Tanya's appear in the doorway. His heart nearly stopped, but thankfully it wasn't her. I just want to talk. Is that so much to ask? Marina said with mock innocence. Anyway, just come, she added, before strutting off, swinging her hips like always. Maxim stood there, feeling trapped, already thinking of an excuse to leave Tanya and sneak off to the parking lot. Marina being here ruined the whole day. He could leave right now, but Tanya would never understand. So, for now, he had to pretend to be the happy husband. In the parking lot, Marina didn't waste time. She walked straight up to Maxim, hugged him, and pressed her whole body against him. She smelled like perfume, heat, and trouble. Maxim barely held himself back from kissing her. "What are you doing?" he asked, panicking as her hand moved down his chest. "Why the drama? Wasn't yesterday fun enough?" Marina teased. "Yeah, we had fun," Maxim replied. "But what do you want now?" "I just want 5 minutes of your time," she said, "before your wife calls, and you go running back like a good little boy." "Of course I have 5 minutes," Maxim muttered, annoyed by how Marina always reminded him he was under his wife's thumb. "Good. I want you to take me shopping," she said bluntly. "No more games. I haven't had anything new in ages. And since you're such a happy husband, I'm sure you can spare a little cash for a gift." "What does that have to do with being a happy husband?" Maxim grumbled, wishing he could disappear, or better yet, that Marina would disappear. As long as Tanya didn't come looking for him. "Relax, your wife isn't coming," Marina said, as if reading his mind. "She's busy rubbing in sunscreen." Then she leaned in closer and whispered, "You're a happy husband now. But if I speak up, you'll be an ex-husband and broke."
Just think about that.
"Doesn't it sound nicer to stay current and rich instead of ex and poor?" She smiled. "So I'm waiting. Buy me a new handbag, and I'll stay quiet." Maxim knew he had no choice. Marina had him completely under control. And not just emotionally, sometimes literally. He had gotten involved with her once, just looking for something exciting. Life with Tanya and their 3-year-old daughter had started to feel routine and boring. But he didn't expect this kind of chaos. Now he didn't know how to escape. "So, are we going shopping, or should I just call you later?" Marina asked, clearly irritated. Maxim knew she enjoyed having the upper hand, and that he couldn't say no. "Of course we'll go wherever you want," he said with a big fake smile. "But on one condition." "Oh, what condition?" Marina asked, raising an eyebrow and adjusting her bikini top, which was struggling to cover her. "Don't let my wife see you today," Maxim said firmly. "If I get stressed, I won't feel like going shopping at all." Marina laughed. Well, you're finally learning, Maximka. Soon you'll be a proper man." Then she turned and walked away, leaving Maxim standing there, trying to catch his breath. It looked like everything had worked out, at least for now. But then, what a terrible coincidence. Why did Marina have to show up here? The rest of the day felt chaotic and stressful. Maxim knew Marina wasn't stupid. She would take full advantage of him and his money. So he had to stick to their deal, avoid Tanya, and keep things quiet. Just in case. You never really know what a woman like Marina might do. She could suddenly cause trouble he wouldn't be able to fix. Marina wouldn't lose anything. She could easily find 10 more guys like him. But for Maxim, his family was everything. He didn't want to lose Tanya or their daughter, Veronica. "You seem tense today, sweetheart," Tanya said gently. She touched Maxim's shoulders and started lightly massaging them. He flinched. Her hands reminded him too much of Marina's touch. "It's just work," Maxim said, rubbing his forehead and leaning back on the lounge chair. "I just can't stop thinking about everything that's going on." "Well, I'm glad we came here to relax," Tanya said with a warm smile. "Yes, while we're relaxing, my mom's running around the dacha with Polina," she laughed. "Sure," Maxim replied. "It's good for Grandma to spend time with her granddaughter. And when Nika's older, we'll start sending her there for the whole summer. Right, Maxik?" Maxim didn't want to talk about long-term plans. Right now, he just had to survive today, one day, and one night. Until now, Marina had never crossed the line. She never interfered with his family. But now, when she got the chance, she didn't hold back. That could only mean one thing: she wanted more. A lot more. What she said in the parking lot was clear. Blackmail. "Give me money for whatever I want, or I'll tell your wife everything." And Maxim had no doubt that Tanya would not forgive him. "What are you thinking about, Maxim?" Tanya asked, taking his hand and pulling him toward the pool. You need to relax. Leave work behind. Just enjoy today. That was easy for her to say. But Maxim couldn't relax. His heart was pounding, and he kept scanning the pool area, looking for a familiar head of chestnut-colored curls. And there she was, Marina, sitting at the pool bar with a friend, sipping cocktails. Maxim hoped they would just stay there and leave him alone. A few times he noticed Marina, or maybe her friend, looking at him. He tried to act calm, like nothing was wrong. But in his head, he remembered the promise. They'd go shopping. With his money, of course. Why did Tanya have to suggest the pool today of all days? To any outsider, Maxim and Tanya looked like a normal, happy couple. No one would guess they were living with silent problems. Tanya had always been easygoing, cheerful, and kind. She never complained or made life hard for him. She liked to keep things simple and light. Maxim was more complicated, but even he tried to find the good in every situation. They met 7 years ago at the birthday party of a mutual friend, Maxim's cousin and Tanya's former classmate. They hit it off, kept chatting online, and soon became close. A year and a half after their first meeting, they got married. It was a beautiful moment full of hope for a bright future, and they had every reason to feel positive. Maxim had a promising career, and Tanya had inherited a cozy two-room apartment from her late grandmother. So they never had to worry about housing. And Maxim wasn't afraid of work. He knew how to earn money. With a roof over their heads and love between them, life had everything it needed to grow. Basically, Maxim and Tanya had a much better start in life than most couples their age. Tanya loved to travel, so for the first few years of their marriage, having kids wasn't even on the table. The two of them spent every free moment packing their bags and going on trips. Because of this travel lifestyle, they didn't even consider getting a pet, even though Maxim really wanted a dog. Max, what dog? Seriously? Tanya would always complain whenever Maxim started talking about how he couldn't live without a German Shepherd, or at least a Dachshund. He'd even argue, if we had a puppy, we could take it with us to the forest next month. But Tanya would shut him down. There's no one to leave it with. And taking it with us? Total hassle. Maxim tried to reason with her. But other people travel with pets all the time. Still, the answer was always no. Eventually, he gave up, at least on the surface. But inside, he started thinking about how to get what he wanted a different way. At some point, he decided they had enjoyed enough time for themselves. Tanya's career was booming, they had done a lot, now it was time to slow down and think about starting a family. Tanya, of course, wasn't ready. She made it clear she wanted to wait. There was plenty of time. But Maxim had made up his mind. And so the accident happened. They were using protection, but suddenly it failed, and only Maxim knew why. When Tanya told him she was pregnant, he acted just as surprised as she was. But he quickly reassured her. It's okay. Everything's going to be fine. I love you, you love me. Why wait? The younger we are, the healthier the baby. Remember they told us that in school. Eventually, Tanya agreed. She gave birth to a healthy and beautiful baby girl, and Maxim insisted they name her Paulina. He smiled and said it was in honor of a famous actress. But in truth, there was another reason. Shortly before Tanya gave birth, while she was in the hospital for observation, Maxim had started seeing another girl, also named Paulina. She was wild and carefree, the complete opposite of Tanya. And just in case he ever slipped up and said the wrong name by accident, naming his daughter Paulina was his solution. After the baby was born, Tanya threw herself into motherhood. And that worked perfectly for Maxim. She was so focused on their daughter that he had a lot of freedom. He didn't have to walk in the park with a stroller. He always said he had too much work. Big projects, deadlines, piles of tasks to finish. His salary was high, so Tanya didn't suspect a thing. Even when he went to work on weekends, he brought home impressive amounts of money. Of course, he didn't tell her about all the extra bonuses or raises. That extra money was his personal stash. That's how he kept himself out of trouble. Their daughter was growing up well, the family looked happy, and Maxim was starting to feel invincible, like he could get everything he wanted and never get caught. It was the kind of thinking teenagers have. I want everything, and no one should ever know. And this belief made Maxim feel completely relaxed and happy with himself. He even got his mother involved in his lies. She would call Tanya pretending to need help at the dacha, asking for her only son. Meanwhile, Maxim would jump in his car and go visit another woman. He was living the dream, happy, confident, free from money worries. Women were naturally drawn to him. Women who wanted fun, no drama, and an easygoing guy. Everything was going smoothly until the day Maxim saw Marina for the first time and couldn't stop looking at her. It was hard to say what exactly drew him to her, because everything about her stood out like a shiny diamond on dark velvet. Marina didn't have a model's figure, but everything about her looked balanced and attractive. No one could ever call her fat or unattractive. She had beautiful hair, smooth skin, a sharp sense of humor, and knew how to stand up for herself. Maxim spent a long time trying to get Marina's attention. He wanted her to forget all the other men constantly chasing her. Marina laughed at his efforts and teased him. No man has ever tamed me, and you won't either. But I like you. You're fun to be around. Sometimes Marina asked for things Maxim couldn't easily give. She wanted him to be with her on weekends and holidays. That was tough because he had a family. He had to come up with excuses and lie to both women just to keep them happy. A few times he almost got caught, but always managed to find a last-minute excuse that calmed Tanya down. Still, he knew this couldn't go on forever. At some point, the truth would come out. But for now, he just wanted to enjoy life. Then one day, Marina gave him an ultimatum, something that pushed things further. That same day, Maxim came home with Tanya. She was in a great mood and rushed to the kitchen to warm up dinner. Sometimes her overly cheerful attitude annoyed him, especially compared to Marina, who could be moody and intense. Maxim sighed heavily. "Are you okay?" Tanya asked, touching his forehead. "Maybe you're sick? Or overheated in the sun?" She smiled, trying to cheer him up. "You seem really down today. You should be happy." But Maxim couldn't find a reason to be happy. He realized that he and Tanya now wanted very different things. Marina was pressuring him, and he felt like he might soon have to confess everything. He was sure Marina wasn't emotionally stable. She would do anything to destroy his family. And Tanya? She just kept smiling and going on with life. In reality, she had the upper hand. If she found out, she could kick him out, and he'd have nowhere to go. His mother had already sold her share of the apartment and couldn't host him. He wasn't welcome there either. So Tanya was secure and he was stuck. "It's okay, sweetheart," Tanya said kindly. "I'm sure something at work just upset you." Again, Tanya's calm and caring nature saved them from a fight. They smiled at each other and went into different rooms. Tanya sat down to finish some paperwork from her job. She worked at the public works office and sometimes brought tasks home. Maxim just lay on the couch, turned on the TV, and started flipping channels without watching anything. Meanwhile, across town in a small rented apartment, Marina was getting ready. She was still fuming about what had happened just 2 days ago, something that made her feel deeply hurt, even though she used to think she had everything. That night, she decided to cheer herself up and walked to a nearby bar. She liked the place, the wooden furniture, the cozy menu, the good service, and even the music. Everything felt right. She lit a real cigarette instead of using her usual vape. Tonight, she wasn't going to hold back. And then it happened. He appeared, Alexei. It had been a long time since they'd seen each other. Marina and Alexei had once been a couple. Back then, Marina was a dreamer. She imagined him proposing, starting a family, and living happily ever after. But that dream ended quickly. During one of their casual meetups, Alyosha calmly told her that she was no longer his choice. He had found someone else with more money and a better future. And just like that, Marina was left behind. To say Marina was shocked would be an understatement. But she pulled herself together and decided not to let Alexei see how much it hurt to lose him, how scared, sad, and hopeless she felt inside. That day, a new Marina was born. One who no longer believed in love. From then on, She only cared about money and financial security. She hadn't seen Alexei since then, but mutual friends told her he was doing well. So, when she unexpectedly ran into him at the pub, it was unpleasant. She didn't want to see him at all. And to make things worse, he just sat down at her table without even asking. "I guess you won't mind if I sit here," he said with a smirk. "Got in a fight with mine. Just came out to have some fun." He called the waiter and ordered mostly alcohol. Then they started talking. Alexei bragged about how great his life was. When Marina said she was single but dating someone she loved, he made a face, like he didn't believe it. "No one's gonna marry you," he sneered. "Oh right, who'd want you now? Used up. You were with me, then someone else. For women like you, the first man is the only one who matters. After that, it's all downhill. Any man who gets with you now will never have peace." Marina didn't argue. She simply stood up and walked out. Her legs were shaking. It felt like she had just taken a hard exam and didn't know if she passed. "So Alexei thinks I'm not marriage material," Marina muttered as she walked through the dark streets. "Well, I'll prove him wrong. I can be a wife." She started to think. Maybe he was right about something. Why could she share a man's bed, but not become his legal wife? That's when the idea hit her. She needed to get married fast. And the only man she could think of was Maxim. Why not? Sure, he was a bit chubby and didn't make much money, but Marina had a plan. She was going to figure out how to get his wife, Tanya, out of the picture, and maybe even get some of Tanya's good income for Maxim. After all, Tanya worked at City Hall. Probably taking bribes too, Marina thought. So Marina put her plan into motion. And today's run-in at the pool only helped her more. Maxim was clearly scared. He shook like a leaf at just the thought of Tanya finding out. And she would find out, but only when it worked in Marina's favor. Then we'll see what Alexei has to say, Marina thought. I'll show him. Meanwhile, Tanya had no idea that this drama was going on around her husband. She was happily talking on the phone with their daughter. Polina was telling her all about the fun day she had with her grandma. Tanya smiled and promised to pick her up tomorrow after lunch instead of tonight. "I already miss you, Mommy," the little girl said seriously. Tanya smiled again. She missed Polina too. She loved her family. Everything felt so perfect, except for Maxim's health. The work week had just started, and he was already complaining about back pain, maybe from the pool, maybe from a cold. "You need to see a neurologist," Tanya told him. What if it's something serious? She truly hoped he'd listen and go to the clinic where she wanted to get him checked. But Maxim just waved his hand and told his wife not to worry about nonsense. "I'll just rest at home for a couple of days and I'll feel better," he promised. "If I went to the doctor for every little thing, I'd have more records than War and Peace," he joked. "It's nothing serious, just a pulled back." "At least use some ointment," Tanya said. She took a tube from the fridge and gave it to him. Maxim gladly took it and started rubbing it on his lower back, groaning and sighing. On Monday, their daughter was sent to kindergarten. Tanya went to work. Maxim, as Tanya said, was now in charge of the house. But in reality, he never did housework. They had machines for that, and if needed, they could just order food. So while Maxim was on his sick leave, all he had to do was lie on the couch and rest. "We've got some big projects at work, so I won't be back until evening," Tanya said as she got ready. "I'll pick up Paulina from kindergarten, and if I can't, I'll call Mom. Get well soon." Maxim nodded with a smile, but then quickly made a sad face. He had to play the sick role, after all. "Don't worry, my love. I'll be waiting," he said sweetly. "Okay. If anything happens, call me," Tanya shouted from the hallway, putting on her sandals. "See you tonight, my dear." Once he saw his wife's red car leave the driveway, Maxim took a deep breath, grabbed his phone, and called Marina. He told her he was ready to spend the whole day with her. "Great. Let's go shopping," Marina replied happily. She always felt like Maxim could be counted on. "You're like a perfect husband," she joked. Maxim didn't like hearing that. The last thing he wanted was Marina calling him her husband. He wasn't young anymore and knew that family life mostly depends on money. Unlike his wife, Maxim didn't make much these days. When they got married, things were the other way around, but now, well, life changes. He even felt sorry for the man who might one day marry Marina. She was beautiful and wild, great in bed, but a nightmare in stores. He couldn't imagine her in his kitchen as a wife. That would be mutual torture. Luckily, that wasn't going to happen. But instead of just shopping and going home, Marina wanted to eat at a restaurant. That made Maxim nervous. "You know I'm officially sick, right?" he asked. "The last thing I need is one of Tanya's friends seeing me." "What? You don't like being seen with me?" Marina snapped, flipping her hair. No. You misunderstood," Maxim quickly said. "I just don't want people to know I have such a treasure like you. It's safer to keep it a secret." "Well, yes," Marina smiled. "But I'm not in the mood to hide today. So book a table, and let's go have lunch." Maxim gave in. He couldn't call Marina anything other than a blackmailer in his thoughts. At least they got a booth, so fewer people could see them. Marina watched Maxim's nervous behavior with quiet hate. Probably Alyosha acts the same way with women, always afraid someone will tell his wife, she thought. All men are pathetic. A failed branch of evolution. No need to play nice with them. She was going to get what she wanted from Maxim, whatever it took. Then, she'd see what happened next. The lunch was great. Maxim didn't hold back. He had already calculated how much it would cost. Still, this was the only way Maxim could get rid of Marina for the day. But Marina didn't seem to notice how tense he was, or how often he looked at his watch. "All right, now let's go to your place," she said with a playful smile, raising her eyebrow. She was clearly waiting for Maxim to panic and make up excuses. But this time he didn't. He just looked confused. "Why my place?" he asked again, clearly nervous. His eyes looked worried. "We've never been there before," Marina replied. "And I really want to see how you live." She waved cheerfully for the waiter and asked for the bill. When Maxim saw the total, he just sighed and didn't argue. Marina smiled to herself. That's right, she thought. Men exist to pay for things. She had already received a couple of gifts that day, and now she could mentally add a nice lunch to the list. At least Maxim is useful for something. Taking his arm, she proudly walked out of the restaurant with him, just in time. Because right then, Tanya stepped into the opposite entrance with two of her coworkers. "Oh, girls, I don't know what's going on with my husband," Tanya said with a sigh. "I called Maxim a few times, but he either didn't answer or just texted he'd call me back. He's probably sleeping or playing on the computer." "All men are like kids," one of her friends replied. "If he's homesick, your apartment is probably full of pizza boxes already. Even my teenage son helps out more than my husband." "Mine doesn't even take sick days," the other one added. "Even with a fever, he just takes some medicine and goes to work." "But hey, who said men are smart?" Tanya smiled but looked thoughtful. "You know what? I think I'll stop by home first before going to the worksite. It's only a 30, maybe 40-minute detour. I just want to make sure Maxim is okay. He won't even pour himself a glass of water when he's sick." "Yeah, men need more care than kids," her coworkers agreed. "If a child has a slight fever, they still run around like nothing's wrong." "Go on, Tanya," one said. "We'll cover for you at work." "Perfect," Tanya smiled, happy to have an alibi. She decided to drop by the house quickly, check on Maxim, and then go to work. It wasn't too far off the route, and she wouldn't get in trouble. She reached her building, then her apartment door. Behind it, her favorite, most wonderful man in the world was resting. Tanya smiled and quietly opened the door with her key. Everyone knows sick people need peace and quiet. Maybe Maxim was sleeping. She walked in like a shadow. The apartment was quiet. Only a dripping faucet could be heard from the kitchen. She made a mental note to ask Maxim to call the plumber once he felt better. Just as she was about to gently open the bedroom door to check on him, she heard voices. Before she could even wonder who could possibly be visiting right now, she caught the conversation, and her eyebrows shot up. Who wouldn't be shocked hearing something like this said about them? "Maxim, come on. Admit it already. Your wife is just a chicken. She'll do whatever you say. She's totally under your control." It was Marina's voice. Maxim nodded eagerly and got comfortable on the sofa. He liked hearing that his mistress thought so highly of him. Even though in real life, things were quite different, but why should Marina know that? You know, she said, I think a great man like you deserves a stronger wife. Someone bold, powerful. You, and she would make such a perfect couple. Honestly, Tanya just uses your kindness. She walks all over you because she knows you're the real leader in the relationship. Maxim nodded again. It felt good to hear her say these things. Why would Marina ever change her mind about him? You know, she continued, I've never been as happy with anyone as I am with you. Tanya, standing behind the door, couldn't see what Marina was doing, but she could guess by the tone of her voice. Marina playfully sat down close to Maxim, placing one hand on his chest and the other on his thigh. She was clearly hinting at something more. I love you too, Maxim said awkwardly, though something about her tone made him feel uneasy. If you love me and I love you, why are we living apart? Marina laughed and tossed her head back, her long hair falling over her shoulders. She looked stunning. I don't understand what you're getting at, Maxim said, his voice suddenly serious. He could feel where this was heading, and he didn't like it. He was right. Marina gave him an ultimatum. I want us to get married soon, she said. You and I can build a great life together. We don't need anyone else. But I'm already married. And I'm not planning to leave Tanya, Maxim replied firmly. All you men are the same, Marina snapped. You don't make any decisions unless you're sure of what you're getting. She jumped to her feet and began pacing in front of him. Come on, Marinka. Now you're just talking nonsense, Maxim finally said, tired of pretending. He realized this had gone too far. If she really demanded marriage, he wasn't ready for that. Why not? Marina turned toward him with a sharp look. When did we start seeing each other? Or better said, when did we start sleeping together? Didn't we always say how much we wanted to be together forever? The only thing stopping us is your wife. Maxim looked down. She was right and he knew it. But this was his pattern. He was used to charming women, flattering them, saying what they wanted to hear. It always worked. His many lovers before never asked for anything serious. They knew their place. But now, with Marina, something had gone wrong. Maxim started thinking quickly. Marina loved money. If he left Tanya, he would lose a lot financially. Sweetheart, he said gently, I would love to, but you understand, I wouldn't be able to support you the way I do now. Tanya earns way more than I do. I know, Marina smirked. All those dinners and gifts come from your wife's money. Tanya, still standing quietly behind the door, nearly collapsed when she heard those words. But don't worry, Marina said confidently. I already have a plan. We'll have enough money. We can be together, just like we dreamed. I'm listening, my love, Maxim said with effort, trying hard not to throw Marina out and lock the door behind her, like she had never existed in his life. How old is your daughter again? 3, right? Marina asked sweetly. That's a great age. She's still young enough to be shaped and not too annoying. But I don't want to deal with diapers and baby food. So, here's the plan. Just say that your wife's lifestyle is bad for raising a child, and take the girl to live with you. Of course, I'll help take care of her too. Then she smiled. So, what do you think? Should we take Paulina from Tanya? Maxim was shocked. He couldn't believe someone would even say something like that. Even if he ignored the fact that Marina could never be a good mother, let alone a decent stepmother, this whole idea was insane. Taking a child just so Tanya would have to pay support? That was crazy. Don't act like you don't get it, Marina said in a hard voice. You know Tanya won't be cheap when it comes to her daughter. And for raising Paulina, you and I will get something out of it too. No. This is wrong. Please stop talking about this, Maxim said, panicking. We were just joking around. That's enough. Suddenly, everything became clear. Marina wasn't just intense. She was truly unstable. If he didn't find a way out, she'd ruin him, drag him down completely. What's with the wide eyes, Maximka? Marina teased. Are you scared? Gonna kick me out now? On the other side of the door, Tanya held her breath. She wanted to burst into the room, confront them, demand answers, but she didn't. She needed to hear how far this would go. She knew her husband well. Maxim wasn't the kind of man who had a strong will. He always gave in eventually. And now this mistress, Marina, was offering him an extreme choice. Tanya could tell Marina was manipulating him, pressuring him, threatening him, even blackmailing him. "Think about it," Marina said. "Wouldn't it be better to live with a woman who loves you and your daughter? I'm sure Tanya won't kick the child onto the street. So we'll get the apartment too. Or you can choose the hard way, pay child support, live in a shared apartment and count every penny. Your choice, Maximushka. Just don't expect me to stay quiet after everything that's happened between us." It was clear. She was giving him an ultimatum. And Maxim, like always, gave in, even if he didn't like it. Meanwhile, Tanya grew more nervous. Staying at the door any longer was dangerous. They might catch her. It was like Maxim read her mind. He got up from the sofa and walked to the door. In one quick move, he opened it and looked out into the hallway. It was empty, except for Tanya's hat swaying slightly on the hanger. He raised an eyebrow, then shrugged and shut the door. Just a few minutes ago, Maxim was sure he saw something move in the hallway. It must have been the wind. Tanya had actually been standing just around the corner near the kitchen wall. Luckily, her husband didn't decide to walk further into the hallway. But everything Tanya had overheard today deeply shook her. She wanted to stay longer and listen to the rest of the conversation between Maxim and Marina to hear what they were planning. Unfortunately, it was too risky. So she quietly slipped out of the apartment and rushed her car to head back to work. "Tatyana Vladimirovna, you seem off today," her co-workers said. But she just waved them off. She had more important things on her mind. She needed to figure out what to do next. It was clear her marriage to Maxim was falling apart. But most of all, how could she protect little Paulina? After work, Tanya picked up Paulina from kindergarten and went to visit her mother. She told herself it was just a visit, but really, she needed time to think. Later, while Paulina happily chatted with her grandma, Tanya's phone rang. It was Maxim. His voice was cold. "Why aren't you home? I'm sitting here alone, and you're off somewhere and dragging our child around at night. Great mother, huh?" Tanya stayed calm and took control of the conversation. "Maxim, why are you suddenly so rude? This morning you were sweet, and I didn't leave a helpless baby at home. I left a grown man. If your back is feeling better, how about cooking dinner? Paulina will be hungry." She hung up before he could explode. Maxim had never cooked in all their years of marriage, so her comment was clearly a challenge. Tanya knew a serious confrontation was coming. At her mother's place, she tried to hide her stress. "Is something wrong between you and Maxim?" her mom asked gently. "More like something's wrong with Maxim and me," Tanya replied with a forced smile. "But don't worry, Mom. It's under control." She didn't want to burden her mother with her problems. But she did make an important decision. The next day, during lunch, she would meet with a good lawyer who specialized in family law. She didn't want to make any rash moves without proper legal advice. Back at home, Maxim wasn't letting things go. "Not only did I have to eat frozen dumplings," he complained, "but you don't care about the kid either. Is it okay for a 3-year-old to be out crawling around in the dark?" Tanya wanted to remind him that what's really unhealthy was turning their daughter into some bargaining tool, something he and that woman were planning to do just to get child support money. But she held back, though it was hard. The tension between them kept growing, like a snowball rolling downhill. You could almost feel it in the air. The next morning, Maxim continued his attacks. "Why is Paulina wearing that tiny Panama hat? It doesn't even fit her anymore. Can't you see it's too small? You need to buy her something new." Yesterday, Tanya might have snapped back and told him to mind his own business. But today, she stayed calm. She found the strength to answer differently. "I was going to tell you, there are problems at work," she said. "So there might be delays in my salary for a while," Tanya said calmly. "You're right, Maxim. The Panama hat is too small. But there's nothing I can do about it right now. Could you use your advance payment to buy some clothes for Paulina? She also needs new sandals. These are way too tight." Maxim looked surprised. This wasn't how Tanya usually acted. She used to take care of everything herself. And until now, Maxim had never had to think about buying clothes for their daughter. But you're the mom. You should buy them, he said quickly, turning away and rushing into the kitchen to avoid continuing the talk. Tanya just smiled to herself. She didn't even have time to get ready to leave when Maxim popped his head back out and started questioning her again. I don't get it. What did you say about your job? I thought you had a stable government job with good pay. Yes, darling, I thought so too, Tanya replied, keeping a playful tone. She was pleased her plan was working. Let Maxim think whatever he wants. She'd speak to the lawyer tomorrow and get real advice. I still don't understand. Maxim raised his voice. You're a civil servant. How can they cut your salary? Don't you know your rights? Go to your boss and tell them you'll sue if they pay you even a penny less. Thanks for the advice. Tanya smiled and grabbed her keys. But now we have to go drop Paulina at kindergarten. She winked and added, Oh, and sweetie, since you're feeling better, maybe today you could clean up a bit and cook something nice for dinner? You should have seen Maxim's face. In their house, it was unheard of for him to do chores. Tanya, always light and cheerful like a butterfly in summer, had handled everything, even during maternity leave. Now that their daughter was in kindergarten and both parents worked all day, the house didn't even get that messy. It feels like your attitude is changing, Maxim muttered as Tanya was walking out the door. You're becoming lazy. A lazy wife is a very bad thing, Tanya. Yes, my dear, she replied sweetly, flipping her bangs out of her face. But you want to help me, don't you? Paulina will be so happy to see that her daddy cleaned up her toys and made yummy dinner. Right, sweetie? Daddy, came a little voice from a hallway. It was Paulina waiting by the elevator and hugging her big doll. She had heard everything. When the door finally shut behind them, Maxim looked at himself in the mirror. What's going on with my wife? He thought. And what's happening with women today in general? Marina had never wanted to be his wife before. In fact, if he was being honest, she could easily find a better man than him. But yesterday, she went crazy, demanding he make a decision about their relationship immediately. And now Tanya too? Acting all confident and dumping housework on him? I don't need this drama, Maxim thought. Let them both know it. He threw himself on the bed in just his t-shirt and shorts, planning to stay there all day as a protest. But it didn't work. At 10:30 in the morning, Marina opened her eyes, called him, and demanded he come get her right away. Or else she'd come to him herself. Where are we going today? Sweetheart, please don't be mad, Maxim said, trying to sound confident. But it turns out I have to go to work tomorrow. So if you want to go somewhere, we have to do it today. After that, I'll be busy. The groom should always be free for his bride, Marina replied on the phone. Maxim made a face like he had just eaten a whole lemon. Why so quiet? She asked. We agreed yesterday, remember? What exactly did we agree on? He asked carefully. His mind was racing. Has Marina lost her mind? How do I get rid of this crazy girlfriend before she ruins my family? I'll come over now, Marina continued. We'll quickly pack up Tanechka's things. She can come home from work and see her bags waiting. She even laughed. And by the way, I found out everything. You're the father. You have every right to take your daughter from kindergarten. So go get Paulina and bring her home. You even remember my daughter's name? Maxim muttered. He really didn't like where things were going. Our daughter, sweetheart. You should say our now. Marina corrected him right away. I read a lot online. Whoever gets the child before the court decides where the child should live, that's usually who keeps them. So don't wait, just act. Marina, can I ask you something? Maxim took a deep breath and then asked quickly, why are you so interested in me all of a sudden? What happened? Why now? Marina had her reasons, of course. But she didn't tell Maxim the truth, that she recently saw her ex, who hurt her badly and made fun of her for still being single. She was angry and wanted to prove she could be wanted. She didn't have time to find a new man, so she clung to Maxim, someone easy to use. But instead of explaining all that, she just said in a soft, dreamy voice, I just realized I can't live without you. When I wake up alone, I wish you were there to hug and kiss me. I want to be close to you. But I have a child, Maxim interrupted. I'm sure your daughter is just as amazing as you, Marina said sweetly. She won't stop our happiness. Maxim liked how she spoke. He straightened up. Tanya probably doesn't even appreciate me, he thought. But Marina does. She sees something in me. She even wants to be a mother to my child. But then his mood changed. Listen, he said carefully. Won't Polinka want to live with her real mom, Tanya? I mean, how do you plan to deal with that? Marina waved it off. That's not a problem. She's just a kid. She'll get used to me. Give her more sweets, fewer rules, and lots of dolls. She'll be fine. Maxim doubted his daughter would trade her real mother for dolls and candy, but he said nothing. Marina was already packing her things. She was clearly planning to come soon. And you, she added, should start packing your wife's stuff now. Pack it so she doesn't even think about coming back. Darling, Marina added, don't take this the wrong way, but I think that's the weak spot in your plan. Maxim gathered his courage and said, how do you expect me to throw someone out of her own apartment? That's not even legal, Marina. Marina's voice changed. It became cold and sharp. Oh, so it was fine when you used me however you wanted. But now that I ask you for something in return, you're backing out? She sounded calm, but it was the kind of calm that made Maxim nervous. I thought you were strong, like a real man I could rely on. Turns out you're just weak. No, that's not what I meant. Maxim quickly changed his tone. I'll do it. I just meant, do you have a plan for how to keep Tanya from coming back to the apartment? Marina slammed her bag shut, making Maxim flinch. That's your problem. Just start packing her things now. After that, we'll go get the kid from kindergarten. Remember our goal? Yeah, Maxim nodded. We take Paulina, and then the court will give custody to you, since the child will already be with us. Not just that, Marina replied. Our goal is to get married. We'll live together, raise Paulina, and have more children. A happy family. But to get there, you need to suffer a little first. She paused, then added, unless you want to go back to Tanya, who controls you like a dog, even though you're capable of so much more. Think about it. Who do you want to be with? Maxim nodded, pretending to think about it. But inside, he didn't really want to leave Tanya. The truth was, he just felt trapped. He knew that if he told Marina no now, she'd tell Tanya everything by the evening. His marriage would be over either way. At least this way, he would look like the one in control. There had been times in the past when Maxim felt small in the shadow of his successful wife. Now, Marina's crazy plan gave him a chance to feel like a man again. Marina waited silently, listening. When he told her he was packing Tanya's clothes, she smiled and hung up. Everything was going according to her plan. Soon, her ex, Lyosha, would hear how she married a man who adored her and treated her like a queen. Sure, she wasn't thrilled about having to live with a noisy little girl like Paulina, but it was worth it. Marina had already planned how to get child support from Tanya too. And if Tanya ever tried to take Paulina back from kindergarten, she'd be ready. Worst case, they'd just move away. She didn't yet realize how hard things would actually be, but she believed the result would be worth it. Once she had a real family, she'd finally be happy. And if that meant putting up with Maxim and his whining daughter for a couple of years, so be it. She'd survived worse. Meanwhile, after half an hour of hesitating, Maxim started to enjoy packing Tanya's clothes. He folded her dresses, trousers, and underwear with a strange kind of satisfaction. It was like he was saying, see, Tanya? I'm in charge now. What can you do about it? Nothing. I'll do whatever I want with your stuff. There was a mischievous spark in Maxim's eyes. He grabbed some nail scissors from the table and started cutting off the decorative buttons on Tatiana's clothes. Finally, he thought, I'm doing what I want for the first time in our marriage. Tatiana, who used to earn more and knew it, couldn't stop him now and never would again. And all of this started because he once made the mistake of meeting Marina. Since then, his whole life had turned upside down. Maxim stood in his daughter Paulina's room for a moment, tempted to do the same with her stuff. But no, he wasn't excited about that. Paulina would cry day and night, ruining the peace he and Marina hoped for. She was too attached to her mom. Probably Tatiana raised her like that on purpose, just so the girl couldn't live without her. And then there was Tatiana's mother, Valentina Petrovna, always sticking her nose into things since Paulina was born, trying to make her granddaughter love her more than anyone else. Honestly, Paulina didn't even seem that close to her own mom. She never wanted to visit her much. But whatever. Maxim was going to take control now. He was the man, the head of the family. Everyone else had to listen to him. If we lived in the Caucasus, he thought, there wouldn't even be a question. The child would stay with me, no discussion. Maxim knew why Marina wanted Paulina to live with them. She said it straight out. But maybe if they let Tatiana give them money, they could let Paulina visit her as a thank you. That would be the best option. Still, deep down, Maxim knew Tatiana wouldn't just sit and do nothing. Marina had no idea who she was messing with. When Tanya got angry, she was a force to be reckoned with. A real monster. And now she had money problems, so maybe she'd be too distracted to fight for Paulina. Maxim got so lost in thought, he didn't hear the front door open. He was busy imagining what Marina would say to Tatiana and what he himself would say. Maybe Tanya would beg to at least keep the child and, in return, let them stay in the apartment. That was his hope, anyway. Then, suddenly, Tatiana appeared behind him. Going somewhere? She asked. Maxim froze, still on his knees, holding the last pair of shoes from the rack. He looked up at her, realizing something had already gone wrong. I wasn't going anywhere, he said quickly. He needed to hold out until Marina arrived. He was the first line of defense. The whole plan rested on him. But Tatiana didn't look mad. She walked slowly down the hall, peeking into the bags and boxes. Well, Maximochka, she said, I see you really got to work, just like I asked. That's sweet of you. What's this? Sending my things for dry cleaning. She pulled out a green coat. I've been meaning to send this one for ages. You're a gem, really. Maxim couldn't tell if she was being serious or sarcastic. Maybe he didn't want to know. He just played along, hoping Marina would show up soon. Then she asked more sharply, but there's one thing I don't get. Why did you pack everything, including my underwear? Tatiana stared at him, eyes narrowed. Or did you somehow think I was moving out of my own apartment? Maxim stood up, panicked, and shook his head. Of course not. Where would I even send you? No, my dear, Tanya said slowly. We both live here. So, why did you pack all my shoes? She looked carefully through the last bag. Before Maxim could come up with an excuse, Tanya clapped her hands and sat down hard on the hallway ottoman. Listen, Maxim, let me tell you a very interesting story, she began. Not long ago, I overheard a strange conversation. Maxim tried to look interested, but inside, he just wished his wife would disappear into the floor. Why isn't she at work? Why did she come home now? He thought. This wasn't how he and Marina had planned it. They were supposed to talk to Tanya in a completely different way. Her tone should have been calmer. This wasn't it. Why so quiet, Maximka? Tanya asked. She stood up, came closer, and gently lifted his chin with her fingers, looking straight into his eyes. When you're silent, it means you're thinking. And that makes me nervous. Maxim looked away. He couldn't hold her gaze. Tell me honestly, she said, calmly but with a clear warning in her voice. Is there anything you want to say? Just so you know, I already know everything. A confession might make things easier for you. Come on, Maxim. Say something. I have nothing to confess, Maxim snapped, stepping back a little. Everything's fine. Where is Marina? He thought nervously. Everything's falling apart, and she's not even here. Well then, I'll keep talking, Tanya said. She sat back on the ottoman and stretched her legs. Before that, she walked over and unlocked the front door, leaving it slightly open. Let's keep the door open, Maxim. Don't close it, I'll just open it again. Some conversations are better with open doors. Just in case. She looked at him and continued. So, what goes through a man's head when he decides to get a mistress? Or when he doesn't even plan to, but does it just because he can and it seems fun? Maxim stayed silent. Okay, I'll go on, she said. You're not the first man to cheat. You won't be the last. But why did you think I'd let you take my daughter? Why would I let you and your girlfriend live here in my apartment? Do I seem that stupid? She shook her head. You know, Maxim, the cheating itself is not even the worst part. Life happens. But what's disgusting is that you thought you could live off our daughter. Like, she's just something to use. You don't understand, Maxim muttered. But then he quickly changed his tone and snapped back. Why are you blaming everything on me? I don't have any mistresses. I've done nothing wrong. Oh, sure. Tanya laughed bitterly. And I just made it all up, right? That's right, Maxim shouted. You're the one cheating, and now you're blaming me so you have an excuse to throw me out and keep me from seeing our daughter. I see what you're doing. Oh, yes, Tanya said sarcastically. It must have been me who packed all your things and left them in the hallway. Just then, the elevator in the building made a loud ding. Maxim's eyes lit up and he raised his head, hoping it was Marina finally arriving. Marina finally arrived. Maxim thought, now we'll deal with Tanya together. We'll show her who's in charge. After that, they'd grab their daughter from kindergarten, while Tanya would be left shouting and shaking her fist. But Tanya looked at him with a sly little smile and said calmly, Don't get too excited. She's not your mistress, right? Just a colleague. She paused, then added, By the way, my friends are downstairs on the floor. They're just watching, just in case. When your Marina shows up, they'll stop her at the door. She won't be allowed into the building. Tanya smirked. Did you really think I'd let your plan work? Don't look so shocked. Yes, I know her name. What's the big deal? Maxim suddenly realized his wife was serious, and he panicked. Marina wouldn't be able to help. Their plan to take Paulina wouldn't work. Tanya saw the change in his face and continued, Yes, Paulina's already been picked up from kindergarten. She won't be going back today or tomorrow. I decided that's best for her. I'm her mother. It's my job to protect her. She took a deep breath and said, Now please, take 15 minutes to pack and leave. Leave? Go where? Maxim asked, completely shocked. Let's talk. Let's figure this out.
No, Maxim.
There's nothing to figure out. This is how it's going to be, Tanya said firmly, shaking her head. If you don't leave in 15 minutes, someone will help you. And don't say I didn't warn you. After Maxim left the apartment with just one suitcase, things didn't go well with Marina. She quickly dumped him and started looking for someone else more suitable. Tanya, meanwhile, took some time to relax and recover. She decided to go back to doing things she enjoyed. So, she packed up her daughter and went south for a vacation. It was cold and wet at home, so the trip felt perfect. While in the south, she met a kind, simple man named Sergey. He worked part-time as a taxi driver and often drove Tanya and Paulina around. They started chatting, then texting each other. Sergey took the time to show them the city, where he had been working for the past 5 years. After Tanya and Paulina returned home, he kept in touch. By spring, his job contract ended, and he accepted Tanya's offer to come stay with them for a while. In just a month, they had grown close. Tanya had been worried about how he'd treat Paulina, but everything turned out great. 8 months later, Sergey proposed in a simple, honest way.
Tanya said yes.
2 years after that, they were getting ready to move into a new 3-room apartment they had bought with a mortgage, just in time for the birth of their second child. As for her ex-husband, Tanya never saw him again. Maybe he went to live with his mom out in the countryside. But Tanya wasn't sad about it at all. In fact, she was happy with her life, her family, and her future. Let us know in the comments what part of the story felt most important to you. Your likes help the channel grow. Subscribe to keep exploring the world of family relationships with us. Wishing you love, peace, and joy.